Welcome to Gooder Stories, where strategy meets heart. I'm your host, Gail Hataitham, founder of Gooder Creative Studio. In this season, we're exploring the theme Small Team, Big Impact, how lean, passionate teams create lasting change in their communities. In each episode, I sit down with changemakers from across Canada's nonprofit world to uncover how they achieve big results with limited resources. This podcast is here to help you share your story with more clarity, creativity, and confidence. Today, I'm joined by Sierra Love, a Calgary based community builder working to make the city more connected and resilient. Through initiatives like Calgary Dollars, the Repair Exchange, and circular city events, Sierra brings neighbors, small businesses, and grassroots groups together to strengthen the local economy and build community one relationship at a time. Sierra, to start us off, I love to go back to the beginning because I find this kind of work usually comes from somewhere personal.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. So, what what moment or experience that first drew you into community building work in Kari? Was there like an aha moment that you realized that this is your
Yeah, for sure. I was a pretty enthusiastic and sensitive youth. And I was really passionate about people and the environment. And sometimes people think you can't do both. But at a certain age, I started to realize that this world that I love so much wasn't just a beautiful symphony of wildlife and culture and stories and science and discovery. There was this other side that was sad and scary and upsetting and hard to process. We weren't taking care of other people. There's systemic injustice, and we're not taking care of the environment and all this incredible life that we shared these biomes with. Learning about environmental degradation was huge for me. And I think it was in university that I started to draw the connection between real action and community. Dealing with these issues in isolation is overwhelming. And I started to meet others and join clubs with other young adults who wanted change. And I distinctly recall feeling like community is key. And it bothered me that it felt like no one in the broader city of Calgary cared enough to live differently. And that is until I encountered Arusha. And this was a collective of people who were very much interested in doing and living according to their values and making change in so many small and collectively big ways. Arusha very much solidified for me that change comes through community building.
Mm. Yeah, the Arusha Center is like a big umbrella organization that you work for, right? That
Yeah,
um you
big
guys have
heart,
a lot of
small team.
initiatives. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a small team.
hmm Yeah,
Yeah.
we have, I guess, 6 core staff, but most of us work, we don't have full-time hours depending on our funding, but we get a lot done.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you work across multiple initiatives under the Arusha Center, right? Initiatives like Calgary Dollars, the Repair Exchange, and Circular City events. Like, can you walk us through what each one does and how they help build community resilience? Because I think some people might not be familiar with these initiatives.
Yeah, absolutely. So the repair exchange is kind of in the name a bit there because it's all about an exchange of knowledge and learning to repair your items. We've very much evolved into a throwaway culture, and people are starting to realize not only is this not great for the environment, it's not great for our wallets either. And it's not great for our communities. And so through the repair exchanges, we bring volunteer fixers to communities and people bring in their items and the fixers help them learn how to repair them. Of course, we don't succeed on every single item, but even in that process of taking something apart, seeing what might be wrong, you're starting to gain those initial skills and realize it is possible. And at the very least, we hope that we encourage people to think if something's broken, oh, well, maybe I'll YouTube that and see if something can be done instead of immediately throwing it away and replacing it, which is becoming less of an option, I think, for a lot of people. And just that showing up of our volunteers and people bringing their items, like it sparks connections between people. People get really excited about it. And with Calgary dollars, it's a complementary currency. And one thing that's special about complementary currencies is they have a goal. And one of the goals of Calgary dollars is community building. We believe everyone has something to offer their community. So, you could offer walking dogs in your neighborhood. Actually, we saw a lot of uptake in this sort of thing during COVID. People were offering things like grocery pickup for people and things like car sharing or ride sharing, all kinds of really great connections like that. By making connections and getting involved in your community, you start to build a system of people who are willing to ask for help and be asked for help. So when hardship hits, there's a web of people who can share skills or talent or time or treasure. One of the other ones I wanted to touch on as well is our Take Action Grants program. And it's a grassroots granting program. And we really look for in our applications projects that are reaching out to their communities and bringing people in. Like people have a project and they want to make a difference. It could be with the environment or social justice or, with Indigenous peoples or anything like that. But the important thing for us is that they're doing it through community building. And the project can have a community building focus. And then the Circular City events brings together our programs to public events. So we have the Calgary Dollars markets where our local vendors can offer their goods and services. We have the repair exchange there with our fixers at the tables with all of the tools that we bring so that they can repair whatever things people bring. And that can be like clothing, it can be small appliances. If you have a broken blender or toaster or something, they're super great and really enthusiastic, which really helps. And then we have our Wheel of Wisdoms, which is our Indigenous program. And that's kind of about applying Indigenous teachings to current issues and finding solutions within communities through that lens.
Wow,
Yeah.
so many wonderful programs that you guys are
Yeah.
doing there. For Calgary Dollars, you have to be like business to join or anyone can join?
Anyone can join. So basically, we have a listings website where anyone can put a listing up and you can offer any goods or services you like. You just have to be willing to accept a minimum of 20% Calgary dollars because the backing of goods and services is what creates the value of Calgary dollars. And on the listings, you'll see everything from people offering their gently used items. And then you'll see small business vendors, and it could be like a side gig vendor, someone who makes and fixes jewelry from home. And then we have some brick and mortar participants. We have some really great local businesses that really believe in community that have been with us for a long time, like Manana Imports, Sentry Box. If you like board games, they're super great. We just find that it attracts people who really care about community and also like the environmental piece too.
Yeah. I find that these are really beneficial, especially for people who live in Calgary. Like I hope that people will check this out and I'll make sure to add some links in our show notes. So because you involve in so many different programs that bring people together, what have you learned about designing these initiatives that create real ongoing relationships with people instead of like one off?
Right. So I've learned that people return when they feel useful. So like you definitely need to welcome people, but beyond that, you need to provide opportunities for people to have a role. So beyond an invitation, they need to have something that pulls them in for ongoing involvement. People need to be needed, and consistency also matters. When something happens regularly, like monthly, seasonally, people start seeing each other as part of their routine. One of the things that I think is successful about the repair exchange is you don't drop off your item and walk away. Like they're there to you also are learning and hopefully you're sharing your skills too. And we always welcome people like, do you know how to repair some like other items and people are welcome to join in as well and anyone can be a vendor for Calgary dollars. So we need everyone to participate in order for it to work. So that's one way you can kind of expand that to your participants as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a giving and taking kind of circle, right? So in this kind of grassroots work that you guys are doing, how do you measure success? Because it's really hard to see, right? Like, what does a meaningful impact look like to you?
Yeah. So when it comes to Calgary dollars, when our market vendors are happy to be at the market, not just to sell their items, but to connect with each other and with us and with the others in the community. I see them visiting each other and trading together, and I hear about how they're meeting outside of the market and working on a project together outside the market. That's success. And when people are so excited to be part of the process of repairing an item and they're seeing something or learning something that they've never tried before, like we have a great little video of a guy being like, I've never sewn a button before. Suddenly, a whole new world of like possibility is opened for them. And this is something that they can learn to do too. That's success. And when our Indigenous lead, G, he's surrounded by kids at the Wheel of Wisdom, and they know by heart some of the Indigenous teachings associated with each of the animals. And that's a type of success too. One of our participants told us that because of Calgary Dollars, they were able to afford to go out to eat at a restaurant, which was out of their budget before. And another was saving to go on a trip because they were able to use Calgary Dollars for some of their basic needs costs. And so they were able to save up. So really like on a larger scale, helping people think differently, that's impact. That's a big impact for me. Helping people realize they have something to offer their community and their community can offer something to them. That's my impact.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I love all the little stories. Like it's so nice to always hear the feedback from the real people, how your programs impact their lives and the way they look at things. Do you have any tips or tricks? Like what's one creative strategy or workaround that you've used to make things happen with a small team and limited resources?
So something that's fairly unique to Arusha, though I'm sure there's others out there, we actually work really hard to be non-hierarchical. And this allows us to really value the contributions of everyone. Whether you're a learner or you've got lots of experience, we can really pivot with the needs of our programs, with what kind of funding we can get, and with the needs and skills of our team. So this has made Arusha really adaptive over the years. And sometimes we only have down to like 2 or 3 staff, but we're still able to do a lot because I think we attract people who really are interested in making the our communities resilient and work differently. And I think that it can work not being a hierarchical, but at least bringing a lot more of a collaborative approach to your organization. There's a lot of great resources about how to bring like buy-in for your staff, but I think that having that collaboration is what makes our team really powerful. So yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
one of
exactly.
the key.
Yeah. Yeah, so I really like the ideas of the Calgary dollars, the concept of community currencies, and the circular economy, which is becoming almost like a buzzword now. I think not many people actually understand what it means or how to make it practical, like how to include it or how to adapt it in their lives. These concepts are a little bit abstract to a lot of people. Have you found like a efficient ways to communicate with like to communicate this concept to actually resonate with people?
Yeah, I like to talk about how Calgary dollars, for instance, they stay in Calgary. So they circulate and they move in our communities instead of leaving to a big bank or a big corporation somewhere else. And that instead of being backed by gold, we're backed by people. So the value of Calgary dollars is based on the goods and services provided by the people who participate. And so all of those people involved are making a circular economy. When you support a small vendor or a local business, more of your money stays in your community. And that creates a circularity. Like they're more likely to pay their employees better. They're more likely to take care of the environment around them because they live there. They're from there. And that's one big piece of a circular economy is participating with people in your community. And repair exchange, I think, is really easy for people to understand because first of all it hits them right in their own life. So you have an item and it's really frustrating when something breaks down, especially in our world of like planned obsolescence. And I don't think people want to throw things away. You earned the money to purchase that, you had to go to the store and all that stuff. So if you can fix it, you're not only keeping it out of the landfill, you're saving your own time and money as well. And I think that it really lights people up, I think. And I think we we'll start to see more of a shift towards more people learning repair skills or connecting with their neighbors who have repair skills. Even like clothing, especially. Like we have such a disposable clothing world these days, but it's even becoming quite fashionable to like have patches and like cool ways of like sewing up your holes so that like it's obvious there was something there, but it's like, and not just in like the subcultures, but it's becoming a little more mainstream. Those are kind of entry points, I think, for people at the circular economy.
Yeah, I understand like using something more tangible to explain the more abstract concept and kind of starting to slowly educate them to learn about like more like of the big picture. And I feel like the repair exchange is it's a great example. Like it's really simple and seems like it's hard for us to really do those things on our own. Because of some of the barriers that we have, maybe we don't have the right skills, we don't have the right knowledge or the machine even, right, to do it. So such a great program, such a great idea. I
Mhm.
got a chance to benefit from some of that as well.
Great, awesome. Yeah, I think that the repair exchange is the easiest way for people to start see the difference between a linear economy and a circular economy. Because it's like, well, you make something, you use it, you throw it away. That's a linear economy. Whereas the circular economy is like, well, what happens at the end when you buy something? And hopefully we start to get people to think before you buy something, is this something that can be circular?
Yeah, how can we keep it longer in the system, right? Instead of just throw away right away. So obviously you dealing with pretty diversity group in Calgary and at different level. How do you tailor your message to meet each audience where they at?
And this one is a big one for Calgary Dollars, especially. We work with people who are small businesses. We work with folks in the public when we go to public spaces. We work with students. We work with people in affordable housing. And Calgary Dollars is a really adaptable tool, and it's used differently by different groups of people. So the big thing is know who you're talking to, and that's something we have to coach our learners through a little bit. Is like you have to wear a bit of a different hat depending on who you're talking to. When we talk to our affordable housing partners, they can use Calgary Dollars towards their rent. But if you tell that message to, you can tell people about it. But if you say like, you can use it to your rent, they're like, really? Like, wow. And they might be really disappointed if they find out, oh, I can't, not everyone can use it towards their rent. And so it's just kind of being really aware of like who you're talking to, which becomes harder if you're, for example, pitching on social media because you don't know who exactly of those groups. And so for us, that's been a bit of one of our challenges in our organization is like which audience are we addressing? And when it comes to social media, we tend to focus more on the ethical consumers when it comes to our social media audience. And when we're in communities, then we change our message to the folks we're talking to in person and at our events.
Yeah, of course. Can you tell us what's been your most effective tactic for getting people involved or to get people to show up at your events or your programs? And what have you find that did not work as well as you hope?
So again, like because we have so many different programs, it's very different when we're working in, say, affordable housing in like a specific community, or if we're trying to get the public to come out. One of the big things for the public is we make our events fun. We animate them. They look cool. They look like something's going on. There's music. We have like all kinds of like fun structures that light up. So they don't know they're going in to learn about circular economy. One of the big events we do publicly is the Earth Hour event at the Calgary Public Library, and it's just a really fun time. But you also get to connect with people around really important concepts like circular economy. And so I guess, and when it comes to our smaller communities, free events and food, having food available helps bring people out. But still, sometimes it's hard to reach our target audience. You send out emails, you post on social media, you put up posters, you hand out flyers, and still have folks show up on the day and be like, oh, if only I'd known about this, I'd have brought something to get repaired. Sometimes that's solved by doing repeat events, but that's hard to do everywhere on a tight budget and with a small crew. Even with all the amazing volunteers we have, like we can only be in so many places regularly. So that's one of our challenges.
Yeah, I definitely can see that and totally understand that. I think it's a big challenge for most organizations out there.
Mhm.
But I think slowly words of mouth also really effective.
Like our we have a regular monthly event at the Hillhurst Sunnyside Community Association, and that has a following and people come out for that. But then we do pop-up ones in other communities, and sometimes we get a great outcome, and other times, like our volunteer fixers are like, "Oh no, there's only two people." But we try really hard to get the community involved so that people understand what it is and they hopefully bring out items to get repaired. But again, like it's kind of like, do you focus more in a couple communities and get that solid, or do you try and give it to more communities in the city? So it's always like trying to find that balance.
Right. Yeah. Try to find the right strategies, the right balance. So I feel like we should zoom out a little bit from the day to day. So if you could offer one piece of advice to other grassroots organizers trying to build community resilience in their own cities, what would that be?
Get to know your community. We learned quickly that rubber stamping from one place to another, even within the same city or within similar demographics, it doesn't work very effectively. Find your community leaders or help develop leaders who live in the spaces you want to work with. That for us has been really the most effective. Like if you're going to, and that's both for Calgary Dollars and for Repair Exchange and all of our projects. Like if you want your project to be successful, you need to know what your community needs and how it operates and how to reach the doers in that community. And that would be my advice.
That's a good advice. Thank you so much, Sarah. And before we wrap up, I'd like to flip the mic for a moment. Do you have a question for me or for Good Creative?
Yeah. So, as we've mentioned a few times, we're a small team and have limited hours. And something we've been struggling with as a nonprofit is how do we decide how much time to invest in social media? I know that's a tough one.
There's no short answer for this. I guess you have to start by asking yourself, like, what's the outcome that you're looking for from
Mhm.
social media, right? Is it just to promote your events or is it to build the community? And each post, you can think about what does it do for your audience. And like you mentioned, which group of audience should you focus on? I
Mhm.
think you have to set the priorities. Who is the hero participants in your community? And then figure out like what kind of message that would resonate with them. Then you can kind of create like a framework for it, like a strategy for it, and how many hours you want to spend on each type of specific goal
Mhm.
that you want to do. Like I said, like just no easy answer. We
Yeah,
can talk about this for
there's no
hours.
magic formula. You just plug in. I think it's good to like think about like what boiling it down to like what do we want this group of people that we're hoping is watching, what do we want them to do? So focusing on that I think is helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like, what do you want them to live with, and what do you want them
Mhm.
to do?
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sierra, for being here, for sharing your time and your perspective with us today. I really, I really appreciate what the Arusha Center like has come up with all these awesome grassroots initiatives for Calgarians. I think for me personally, it makes the city a little warmer, a little more connected, a little, human. Like it's just sometimes it's hard, especially honestly living in this cold weather. This very cold city, sometimes it feels really isolated. But to have these kind of events and programs that connect people in a different way, it's just very meaningful. Yeah, thank you so.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for having me. And really, I do feel lucky being part of a place like Arusha. I think what you said is really true. And one thing that I love about Arusha is we kind of bring together the whole picture of people and environment. And I think that's really magical about Arusha.
And the inclusive part, like it's just lower the barrier for a lot of people too, especially people who maybe can't afford to buy new things. And you give them the option of repairing for free and the option of trading their services or their time with the Calgary dollars. So It's just opening up a lot more opportunities for people. And to our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Gooder Stories. If you enjoy our conversation, be sure to follow or subscribe and share it with someone who's working to make a big impact with a small team. And that's a wrap on another Gooder Story. Until next time, keep making stories worth sharing. Bye.